people, welcome back to the channel. This week I'm going to be focusing on the suspension on GNX Clone. I'm going to be cleaning and painting these Bilstein shocks a satin black. I'm going to be tearing down the spindle, remove the rotor from there. We got new rotors we're putting on here, cross-drilled. So I have to separate the rotor and the backing plate off of this one, off of both of them actually. And then I'm going to get that media blasted so I could paint that black. Same with this one. Oh, but this one has a little damage action, which I believe I have another one anyways. I'm going to be cleaning up the springs and shooting those things gloss black. I don't know how I'm going to treat this sway bar, but I have to find a way to clean it somehow. Get it down to bare metal so I could repaint that. Because as you remember before, I got new bushings for the sway bar. Got new brake pads, rotors. We're putting on braided brake lines, and also going to be painting the calipers. So we got our share of work cut out for us this week to get the suspension ready to go back in. Those were the old control arms. I got new ones. And then I could start putting this back. Look at all the wires hanging out there. That is the old engine harness. As you could see from the last episode, I got this thing cleaned up just nice. So I'm going to be focusing on the suspension so I could put something back in these spots. And then I could start concentrating on the engine and get that back in. So over here, I got a bunch of things that I have to go back to Racetronics for to get some more loom for. This is the evac system that I'm having. Each valve cover goes into that, and then this line goes into the evac pump. That needs to be reloomed. I'm going to have to mask this off, and I'd like to media blast this if I can. I'm very skeptical of getting the stuff inside here, but I'm going to have to clean that out really well because I don't want to paint this. Same goes with the tensioner, because as you could see, this tensioner looks rough. And I can't be sticking something like this on an engine that looks like this. Just the 2 and 2 just don't equal 4, you know what I mean? So I'm going to get that all squared away, but first off I'm going to start stripping these spindles down, get the rotors off of there, and get the backing plates off so I can get that media blasted. Clean up all these suspension parts here first and see if we can't get this thing all painted and back in the car within the next week. Stay tuned. And this is the not so fun part. Trying to take all the grease off of this damn spindle. Holy crap. Just levels of it. I'm just like chewing up the Varsol just trying to get through this crap. And I gotta get to this one. The rotors, they're off. All the bearings and the cap is off. I cleaned the shocks. Those are the old backing plates, but as you can see, this one is compromised. So I did have a spare that came off of mine that I cleaned up. They're here. So I'm going to use those. Oh boy. Back at it. Definitely got to do this stuff when the wife's not home, because if she comes home and sees this crap, she'd be like, what the frig are you doing, buddy? Sometimes I got to ask myself the same question. Half man, half retard. All right, I'll be back. This is officially the new crime scene. Wow. Well, I got these cleaned. Shocks are done. Spindles are cleaned. The springs are cleaned. The backing plates are cleaned. And I even got to clean the sway bar. Man, what a mess. Now I got to get these ready to be painted. I'm gonna go maybe a gloss black on these. Gloss black on that. Satin black on the shocks. I'm gonna use a satin black on the sway bar. And I guess I'm gonna use a satin black on these. And a gloss black on the brackets for the sway bar. Man, don't tell me this ain't work. But damn, is this thing gonna look nice. I gotta clean up my mess. Look at the old bushings that came out of the sway bar. Just destroyed. Look at that. Yep, this is gonna work a lot better. For sure. Alright, let me head off to Racetronics, get some loom. And I think I'm gonna put these in the glass beater and do the brackets and the spindles, along with throttle body and the tensioner. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright, let's start sandblasting these. I'll do the hard parts first, and then I'm going to get at the tensioner and the throttle body and the bottom of the EGR. Let's go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how it's done. Spindle's done. Tensioner, bracket, throttle body, and the bolts for the tensioner. All good. Let's get some paint on this. Well, here we go. Wiped them down with brake clean. And now shot them with some black paint. Gonna let the spindles here dry. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now I got to continue with the other stuff. I got to start prepping the springs and get those ready for paint as well. Be right back. And there we go. Got the springs done too. Gloss black. Yeah, that came out well. Look like brand new springs now. Still got the sway bar to do, which is up next. Just going to give this a couple more coats and move on to the next one. Alright, slowly but surely we're getting the suspension stuff all done. Back in a bit. And now it's the sway bar's turn. Alright. I did that satin black. Yep. Lightweight, baby! And now these have dried back. Look how nice these springs look. Yep, she's coming along just perfectly. And now I got the shocks done. There we go. Satin black. That's done. The sway bar is done. Look at those springs. The springs are done. And the spindles are done. All good. Time to let this stuff dry. I've already given it 3 coats. So let it dry and on to the next. Alright, now I'm nearing the stretch. Got the throttle body bracket right there. The bracket, not the bracket, but the line for the vacuum lines for the throttle body. And that's the one bracket for sway bar. The other bracket for the sway bar. And the lines, the other lines for the throttle body. And here is the throttle body after I cleaned it all up. Took it apart. Blew all the crud out of these. So, yeah. I am definitely nearing the stretch now. On to the next. And there you go. It's put back together. Polished up the top. Put the painted bracket back on it. Good to go. Also shot this, the bolt. So that's good. All right. Let me get back started on this suspension. Okay, moving right along. Time to get this front suspension back in the car. As you can see, we have our brand new upper and lowers that we're going to be installing. The springs that I just finished painting, the Bilstein shocks that I painted, and also the spindles that I had glass beaded and painted. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to install the uppers with the proper shims for each side. Hopefully we don't need to get the car realigned, but if we do, we do. And then I'm going to install the lowers, hook up the spindles to it, jam the spring inside, and hopefully we can get this in without having to use a compressor tool to squeeze down these springs. I will be right back. Alright, there we go. Got the uppers and lowers into place. Also making sure that I have the correct shims on each side. Whether or not that's going to affect alignment or not, I don't know until we get this thing back on the road. But I got the passenger side on there too. Now I'm going to have to see if I can jam that spring in there. Right here. And that has to be seated right there. You can see the 2 dots, so that's where the coil binds right there and fits into this pocket. Hopefully I'm going to see if I can get this thing in there without a spring compressor. Fingers crossed. See you in a bit. Yeah, there's no way in hell I was going to do that without the spring compressor tool. As you see, it's on. Gotta work smarter, not harder. Last thing I want to do is put this damn thing on with a helmet on. But one side is in. Let's get to the other one. And just like that, the front suspension is back on. Look at how nice that looks. eye candy. So I'm going to end up putting this caliper back on to take it off later. I've got a braided line, but I want to start the car first so at least I have brakes. And then I could replace the line and start bleeding the brakes and stuff like that. So, yeah. Both sides together. Ain't that nice? Last thing I have to do is the Bilstein shocks. But look at these. Just pounded out of it. So I got this as the replacement. Time to get her going. There you go. With the old bushings out, the new bushings in. The shock is now installed. And that's going to complete the suspension stuff for this week. Next week I just got a little bit left to tidy up in the engine compartment, put the fan back in, and do the loom the wires that are hanging here. And then we can start getting cracking on this engine. Getting that dressed and ready to put in. I say in about 2.5 weeks, this thing will be alive. Alright, see you on the next one.